Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Welcome to Talking Politics. My name is Robert Press. I am a reporter, as you can see by my official New York City press card. I write for the Bronx Post and Parkchester Times, both like this show, a part of Parrot Media Corporation. I also contribute to the Co-op City News. I have a blog at www.100%.blogspot.com and Facebook pages 100% and What is Going On in Your Local Community Board. The views expressed on the show are those of the host, any guest, or anyone commenting at the bottom of the screen, and not necessarily that of Parrot Media Corporation. Let's go to a quick weather report. Today, Friday, the high should get up to about 58 with possible light showers at night. Saturday will be the warmest day at 66. Sunday, it goes down to 60 with rain possible late in the afternoon or at night. Monday, it goes down to 48. It drops about 12 degrees there with the 40s the rest of the week next week. The Trump administration has announced that it will cut 10% of air traffic at 40 of the nation's busiest airports in a move analysts say will force airlines to cancel thousands of flights while the administration tries to push Democrats to end the government shutdown. The airports include Kennedy, LaGuardia, and Newark airports, so check with your airline before going to the airport. And that means that Mr. Yahya Obeid, who is an air traffic controller, is not getting paid while the government is shut down. Sorry, Yahya. Before Tuesday, November 4th, the election, 735,317 New Yorkers turned out to cast their ballots during early voting, accounting for nearly 14% of the more than 5.3 registered voters in the city. And newly registered voters, like ones who helped power Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mandami to his primary win, turned out in droves. Let's do an analysis of the results. Not all votes are counted yet, though. There are still some that absentee ballots and affidavit ballots that are being counted right now. And we should have an official results signed off by the commissioners in about a week or so, because we're at about 99% of the ballots that have been reported. In the mayor's race, Zohran Mandami, the Democratic candidate, got 1,036,651 votes for 59.39% of the accounting. Andrew M. Cuomo, a Democratic independent, received 854,995 votes, or 41.59%. The two combined totaled 91.98% of the ballots, which went to a Democratic candidate. But there were other Democrats in the race. Also, Eric Adams, Irene Estrada, Jim Walden. They got some votes too, and I'll get into them in a second. Now, Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, came in third with 146,137, or 7.11%. And Curtis was a little shy of what he wanted. He wanted to get 35%, which should have given him the win, which would have lowered the other two. Coming in fourth, Eric Adams, even though he declared that a month before he was not are going to run, he still received 6,382 votes, or about 1/3% of the votes. As far as write-ins went, whoever wrote in whatever, 6,290, or again about 1/3%. Irene Estrada, the conservative Democrat, came next with 2,643 votes, or 0.13% of the vote. She did much better when she ran for district leader. She won a district leader race in 2020 with almost 4,000 votes. Irene, you better run for district leader again then. And Jim Walden, another independent Democrat, received 2,170, or 0.11%. And rounding out the field was Joseph Hernandez, another independent, who received 1,253 votes, or a little more than half. I should say 0.06%. Like I said, the total votes were 2,055,921 as of the counting at the time. And it was a Democratic tsunami for the Democrats, and it went down the ballot. And let's continue a little bit with the public advocate voting, because we have congratulations to one person. Jumaane Williams received 1,362,196 votes for only 72.72% of the vote. Gonzalo Duran, the Republican conservative, got 465,113 votes, or 24.83%. And Marty Dolan, running on the independent line, received 42,314 votes, or 2.26%. And you'll see now that there were 1,873,095 votes cast for public advocate. As you go down in the ballot, there were less votes because people just come out sometimes to vote for mayor or just a certain position. And congratulations to Gonzalo Duran for his 24.83%. He got a quarter of the vote, and he deserves kudos for that. So congratulations, Gonzalo Duran, on your election results. As far as Bronx Borough President, Vanessa Gibson received 166,844, or 82.59%. Grace Marrero, running on the Republican conservative line, received 34,747, or 17.20%, and the rest were write-ins. A total of 202,004 votes were cast for borough president. Congratulations, Vanessa Gibson. Again, your election was never in doubt. I'm going to go to some of the other Democratic council members whose election were never in doubt. Councilman Eric Dinowitz won re-election with 28,679 votes, or 82.07%, the lowest of any incumbent Democrat. In the 12th Council District, Kevin Riley received 24,679 votes, and he was the second person that received over 90% of the vote. He received 90.45% of the vote. In the 14th Council District, I'll get to the 13th a little later, Councilwoman Karina Sanchez was unopposed, and she received 99.21% of the vote with 0.79 write-ins. In the 15th Council District, Councilman Oswald Felice received 13,939, or 85.63%. You got to do a little better, Oswald. But then again, you can't run again, so your term limited out. In the 16th, Councilwoman Althea Stevens received 17,314 votes for 88.41% of the vote. In the 17th, newly elected Councilman Justin Sanchez received 15,657 votes, or 86.02%. And in the 18th, incumbent Councilwoman Amanda Farias received 23,268 votes, or 88.11%. These were the incumbent council members. Now let's go to the 13th Council District. It was the Republican versus the full Bronx Democratic County machine, the Working Families Party, and the tsunami of the Mandami election. So as the result in this nail-biting race to represent New York City Council District 13 became clear, Republican City Council member incumbent Christy Marmorato conceded defeat at her election night watch party. I'm proud of everybody, Marmorato told a crowd of her cheering but disappoint the supporters. Following her upset Republican win in 2023, the East Bronx district has been flipped back to blue as Democratic nominee Shirley Aldable narrowly won the seat 51.59% to 46.20%, with 2.08% for Joel Rivera and the independent line, and the rest were write-ins, with 99% of the scanners reporting. We never heard, though, what Shirley Aldable was going to do congratulations go to the Mandami Tsunami for bringing out a record number of voters. The winning, the Working Families Party and Miss Diana Finch also get kudos for their hard work on the Aldable campaign. And I would be, of course, remiss if I didn't mention district leaders John Doyle and Christine Culpepper for their, how can I say this, twisting the facts and made up stories about Christy Marmorato. Now, there were a total of over 32,000 votes this year in the election for the 13th Council District, which is much more than any other council district that I said. And in 2023, there were only 12,968 votes, in which Marmorato won by 463 votes over then incumbent Democrat Marjorie Velazquez. And like I said, this was the Shirley mailers that you got. It doesn't say anything. She was never at any of the forums. The one forum that she was at, Gary Axelbank had to help her over the finish line. And shame on you, Gary, for what you did in that debate, helping the candidate to win. You should be ashamed of yourself, Gary Axelbank. I never saw a worse debate on your show. Now let's go on to the propositions. Proposition 1, to allow an Olympic sports complex in Essex County on state forest preserve land. In the city, it went down 45.44% to 54.56%. However, it was carried in the rest of the state and won. So there will be the Olympic sports complex in Essex County because of upstate Long Island. Now, Proposition 2 was a city proposition by the Mayor Eric Adams campaign. The proposal number 2 was to fast track affordable housing, to build more affordable housing across the city. It passed 58.32% yes to 41.68% no. Proposition 3, to simplify review of modest housing and infrastructure projects, passed 56.75% to 43.25% on the negative side. Proposition 4, to establish an affordable housing appeals board with the mayor, the borough president, and city council, passed 58.30% to 41.70% in negative. And the largest percentage win was proposition number 5 for a new digital city map, which passed 73.25% yes to 26.75% no. And final proposition, proposition 6, to move local elections to presidential election years to increase voter participation, which meant there would be no more odd year elections. There would be only even year elections when there's either president or governor, went down with 46.92% voting in favor and 53.03% voting against it. Now, I am going to take a break here. When I come back, I'm going to go into the Mandami transition team, his policy experts, the fall of Andrew Cuomo, and at the end of the show, I'll have some candidates who announced that they're running next year. And so let's go to a commercial right now. We're at our point.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses,
Keep watching.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Okay, welcome back. And perhaps no mayor in New York City history will take office with less experience than Zohran Mamdani. That means the circle of experts who have the mayor's elect's ear will be critical in shaping how he runs the city with more than 300,000 workers and an annual budget of roughly $115 billion, and how successful he is in fulfilling his ambitious liberal agenda. Political Pro unpacked the policy experts who will have Mamdani's ear, whether in key administration posts or as outside advisors. Among the names in the mix, Budget Wonk, Dean Fula, a former official in the Bill de Blasio administration, Eli Basad Church, a longtime Mamdani advisor who served as his assembly chief of staff, and Dan Garodnick, the head of the Department of City Planning under Mayor Adams. Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has announced his transition team, the team which features leaders who have worked in the administration of Bill de Blasio, Eric Adams, and Michael Bloomberg, is meant to bolster the young, inexperienced Democratic Socialist as he prepares to take the helm of the country's largest city. They include former First Deputy Mayor Maria Torres Springer, former Federal Trade Commission Chair Linda Kahn, nonprofit President Grace Bonilla, and city budget expert Melanie Hartzog will be his transition co-chairs. Progressive political strategist Elena Leopold, a de Blasio alum and senior Mamdani camp advisor, will serve as transition team's executive director. Together, they have backgrounds in social services, finance, city budgeting, and housing development. Their roles on the transition team are meant to a smooth mayor-elect path from election in early November to inauguration in January. They often serve as a de facto audition for city appointees to City Hall. The group will also be fundraising for staff and researching infrastructure, Mamdani noted. Now, as far as Andrew Cuomo, the book is closed on Andrew Cuomo and a New York political era, Political reports. The former governor's comeback was thwarted Tuesday by an inexperienced Democratic socialist who wasn't a blimp on the electoral radar a year ago. Cuomo's loss is a bookend to a political career that began nearly a half century ago when he served as an advisor on his father Mario's unsuccessful mayoral bid. But the 1977 race was a precursor to a storied three-term governorship for his father, Mario. The younger Cuomo's loss on Tuesday signaled the likely end of the road for the 67-year-old Democrat. He tried to knit together an ungainly coalition of moderate Democrats, aghast at their party's leftward lurch, Republicans willing to hold their nose and back him, prominent New York City figures like billionaire former Mayor Michael Bloomberg. It wasn't enough, though, even as Cuomo garnered more than 854,000 votes, enough to have easily won the mayoral election 4 years ago. Yet after the polls closed, the former governor was quick to note he achieved a slightly higher share of the vote than his father did 48 years ago. It was yet another way he could measure himself against his father. Turning to world politics, Russian President Vladimir Putin Wednesday moved towards resuming nuclear testing in a direct response to President Donald Trump's surprise instruction for the United States to begin testing for the first time in more than 30 years, NBC reported. Putin warned in a television meeting that the Kremlin would be required to take appropriate retaliatory measures if the United States conducted a nuclear test. The Russian leader told his foreign and defense ministers to do everything possible to gather additional information on this matter, and analyze it in the Security Council, and submit coordinated proposals on the possible commencement and preparations for nuclear weapons testing. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump said the U.S. military could deploy troops to Nigeria to carry out airstrikes to stop what he called was the killing of a large number of Christians in the West African country. The Trump administration is now intently planning ground operations also in Mexico against drug cartels, and some initial training is already underway. But officials haven't yet made the final call on whether the plans will go forward. They would involve CIA officials and Joint Special Operations Command troops secretly going into Mexico, mostly targeting drug factories and cartels with drones through some of the operators, though some of the operators would be on the ground. U.S. officials said they prefer to cooperate with the Mexican government, but that's not necessarily prerequisite. And Donald Trump once again has said on social media he will look to end New York's congestion pricing program, urging U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy to take a good long look at killing the program. As far as Mandami's win, Senate Minority Chuck Leader Schumer rejected charges he's out of touch, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told his members they will continue to urge the Senate to stay the course and hold the line on the shutdown. The Republican Party, meanwhile, here in New York State, gained 100,000 registered voters since 2022, while Democrats have lost members. And Donald Trump, the Trump administration, has made the decision to attack military installations inside Venezuela, and the strike could come at any moment, sources with knowledge of the situation told the Miami Herald, as the U.S. prepares to intensify the next stage of its campaign against the soulless drug cartel. Sources told the Herald that the targets, which could be struck by air in a matter of days or even hours, also aim to decapitate the cartel's hierarchy. U.S. officials believe the cartel exports around 500 tons of cocaine yearly, split between Europe and the United States, while sources declined to say whether Maduro himself is a target. One of them said his time is running out. He's about to find himself trapped and might soon discover that he cannot flee the country, even if he decided to. Here's another one calling it quits. Nancy Pelosi announced that she will not be running for re-election this morning on the heels of the dominant Democratic display in Tuesday's election, signaling the end of an era that saw her rise to become one of the most powerful political operators, creating an immeasurable vacuum to fill. Pelosi's decision is primed to set off a cascade of campaign maneuvering here as the Democrats seize on the once-in-a-generation opportunity of an open House seat in the center of Democratic politics. As Pelosi steps out of the spotlight, California Governor Newsom is stepping firmly into it, basking in his resounding redistricting win on Tuesday. The near-imminent victory of Proposition 50 ballot measure this week has not only buoyed the National Democrats and their prospects, but also made a strong case for Newsom's 2028 presidential ambitions, Political reported. It's cementing Newsom as a figure primed to stand up to Trump, and has enabled his donor list, has expanded his donor list. Even Republicans are conceding that even though they don't see Newsom as a threat during Trump's presidency, he's elevated himself to a tier one Democrat. Tuesday's results are also raising hard questions for other pivotal Democratic leaders. Chief among them are, like I said, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, as Zohran Mamdani emerges as the voice of New York City as mayor-elect. Schumer's silence on Mamdani is risking his leadership, and he's looking out of touch. Now, today, there was an announcement from Republican candidate for governor Ellie Stefanik, as she released the following statement. Kathy Hochul is the worst governor in New York, in America. Under Governor Kathy Hochul's failed leadership, New York is the most unaffordable state in the nation, with the highest taxes, highest energy, utilities, rent, and grocery prices, crushing hardworking families. Hochul has created a crime crisis with the failed bail reform and her support for defund the police candidates. And when New Yorkers were looking for leadership the most, Kathy Hochul bent the knee to the raging defund the police, tax hiking, anti-Semitic communist who will destroy New York. Stefanik said that she is running for governor to bring a new generation of leadership to Albany to make New York affordable and safe for families across our great state. Our campaign will unify Democrats, Republicans, and Independents to fire Kathy Hochul once and for all to save New York. Now, the Republican chair, Ed Cox, released the following statement also afterwards, that Elsie Stefanik is a unifier and party builder with the brains and the guts, the resources to win statewide next year. She has fought for our principles every day of her career and never backs down. She is the warrior we need to lead the fight against the Democrats' corrupt Albany machine. Thanks to Kathy Hochul and the Democrats, New York leads the nation in out-migration as the most tax and least free, less affordable state in America. There will not be a Republican primary a year from now. Elsie will lead our team to victory over Kathy Hochul, end one-party Democratic rule, and make New York affordable again. Now, on another note, there's a note from Michael Blake. It says that I'm Michael Blake, and I'm running for Congress in the Bronx because our people deserve better than Richie Torres. As a proud son of the Bronx, a child of Jamaican immigrants, a man of faith, and a product of the New York City public schools, this is personal to me. My mother worked in manufacturing for over 40 years. My late father was a proud 1199 SEIU member and maintenance supervisor at St. Barnabas Hospital. They taught me the value of hard work, service, dignity, and lessons that have guided me ever since. From helping then Senator Barack Obama launch a movement for hope to serving in the Obama White House, to becoming elected as New York's Assembly member, leading the creation of New York's My Brother's Keeper program, I spent my life fighting for jobs, justice, and lowering the cost of living. I'm running for Congress because our people in the Bronx deserve better than Richie Torres. We cannot afford any more of Richie Torres. Together, let's commit to lowering the cost of living by focusing on housing, childcare, and energy bills, demanding affordable housing by ending credit scores for affordable housing, and fighting for a local median income, investing in and transforming NYCHA by building truly affordable homes for longtime residents of the Bronx, creating good jobs, good paying jobs right here at home, from green construction to small business growth, keeping our streets safe through care, prevention, and community partnership, not over policing, protecting our rights and freedoms from reproductive justice to immigrants' dignity, human rights abroad, from addressing anti-Semitism and Islamophobia to spending our tax dollars to feed, educate, house our kids, not bomb kids overseas. The Bronx has been overlooked for too long. It's time we had a representative who fights for the Bronx, while Richie Torres has profited off funding a genocide overseas. I am focused on bettering the quality of life for people right here in our district. Together we can deliver the Bronx plan and make our city more affordable, safer, and fairer for all. In solidarity, Michael Blake, I'm running for Congress in New York 15 because the Bronx deserves the best. Now, lastly, before I end the show, City Controller Brad Lander wants to set the record straight. He drew high regards from Mandami's base, endorsing the assemblyman late in the primary as the two teamed up to take down Andrew Cuomo, and casual political observers thought he was an obvious pick to serve in Mandami's City Hall. But now, almost 5 months later, things have changed. The controller reportedly has been boxed out of a job in the incoming mayor's administration and setting his sights on running for the Democratic congressional seat of Dan Goldman, a move Lander says he's very seriously considering. On Thursday at Sumos, Lander was dealing with fallout from a detailed story from CNN that delved deep into all that drama, that the article said in part that Lander had been making calls to potential donors asking if they would commit to supporting his potential congressional bid. It also said that Mandami thought Lander was a nice enough guy, but not particularly effective as controller. Almost everything in the CNN article was false, Lander said, adding that he has not asked anyone for contributions at this point. The story had more juicy details, including that Lander's wife told someone at a party that Mandami called to tell Lander he wouldn't get a job in his administration. That's another thing that didn't happen, he said. So Politico asked Lander, what are you going to say if you run for Congress when people ask you why you didn't make it into the Mandami administration? First, I was thrilled to help Zoran win the race, he responded. It was an inspiring campaign, doing the cross endorsement and helping him win in the primary. Then he recounted how he defined calls from people who told him to step back and allow Cuomo to win the primary, but he's never spelled out what he would explain seemingly non-existent role in the Mandami City Hall. Sumos is a great place to be talking to people and weighing options, and sometimes in the coming weeks, I look forward to letting people know how I will serve going forward, Lander said. And I will end the show here. I'm going to take off next week because the election's over. I need a rest. And I just hope my new city councilwoman is half as good as the soon-to-be former councilwoman, Christy Marmorato, who deserves kudos. Christy, you did a great job in the 2 years you were there. You got off to a slow start, but you really came on as soon as you got on board. I can only say great things about Councilwoman Christy Marmorato and her wonderful staff, going down to the little people who did with the constituent work. And I'll just leave it at that because I really don't want to say anything about her chief of staff, which her and I had differences of opinions, and I'll leave it at that. And the one person I will blame for the Christy Marmorato loss will be her chief of staff, who is her political strategist, her campaign manager, and that is April Cardona. If anybody deserves to get the I can't even think of the word, to be blamed for it, it's April Cardona, who should be blamed for the Christy Marmorato loss. Thank you, and I want to say goodbye. I'll see you probably in a couple of weeks, so keep watching, and I'll see you on Talking Politics. Thank you.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.